I know it's a bit faint, but I can't do anything about it. But essentially, it's... Take your seats, please, take your seats. Oi! Sit down! Let's wait for some people coming in. Come on! That's it. Yeah, come on. Two. Okay, so the Dunning-Kruger effect is essentially you have some knowledge, but you think it's a lot. And so your confidence of knowledge spikes really early. So they put the example on this graph, like high school student, peak up here, and you keep knowing more down to PhD professor, and then you're in the valley of despair because you realise you know fuck all. So I think this is similar to us guys with like the awake journey. So maybe starting off with like, a David Icke video or a documentary. And you think, oh shit, I know everything. But really, you know fuck all. And then the more you know, you realise you keep going down. So I reckon I'm way down here. Because the more you know, you really don't know. So, the scientific method. It's very simple. I'll read this out because it's so vague. So it starts off with an observation. So you observe something in nature. Second step is come up with questions of what you're observing. And then you come up with a hypothesis. Hypothesis just means opinion. That's all it is. Yeah, can you take your seats please? If you want to chat, go outside. If you want to stay in here, sit down and listen. Basically. Chat outside, stay in, shut up and listen. Make a choice now, give you 30 seconds. Okay. So hypothesis is just a fancy word for opinion. That's all it is. And then you come up with a prediction of what you think is causing the observation. So then you conduct an experiment. So you conduct the experiment, you get your results. If your results show that your original hypothesis is false, then you reject it and you start again, come up with another hypothesis. If your results are confirmed by what you thought caused the observation, then it becomes theory. So a scientific theory is the last stage. A lot of people get that confused. They think theory is just an idea to come up with. But that's hypothesis. They get the words wrong way around. Theory is last stage. There's no scientific facts. Because you have to go back to check the experiment, and there might be other things going on that you might have missed, or someone else would repeat your experiment and notice a variable missing and so forth. So that's that. Okay, so the scientific method, this is BBC bite size, key stage 3 for 11 to 14-year-olds. So this is what we're talking about. Straight, it's really simple. Same again, BBC. Okay, I'll write this on the whiteboard because it's so vague. First step. Claim. Whoever makes a claim, the burden is on them to show that it's true or not. All died. Is that proof? No. because there's no control group. But it's a good associative study, so it's a bit lower down. So you have to do a control group. And the only difference between the two groups has to be the independent variable. Everything else has to remain the same. So you can't choose all thin people here and all fat people here. Or, you know, really young people there or old people or vice versa. Everything has to be fixed apart from the X independent variable. So then you can say you removed all your attempts to disprove your result. Everything has to be done to try and disprove what you're doing. And that's what controlling for all those factors are for. Controlling is very important. So let's say everything's the same room, the same temperature, the same type of people, the same conditions, the same diet, the same bullet, the same everything, the same gun. So you shoot these guys, and in this one, you have to have a bang. Because if you didn't use the control group, and you heard a bang, and then someone can go, well, there's no, but how do you know if the bang didn't kill him? So you've got to remove that variable in the experiment. So you have the bang in both. So the result is, all these guys die, and all these guys live. Done. That's basically your experiment. Control experiment. And you're best to do it blinded, so nobody knows who's getting what, so you don't influence the mind. And that's your result. Now it becomes scientific theory, because there's always going to be a variable you didn't consider. That's always going to be. That's why it always stays a theory, and that's why it's constant questioning. Reassess, question, test, look, do it again. And it's never ending. Who does not understand that? So there you go. Scientific method. Right. In science, especially in clinical science, there is the hierarchy of evidence. Whiteboards fall off. So in the hierarchy of evidence, there's different levels to it. At the bottom, I don't know if you can read that. This is a simplified version of it. Expert opinion. That's the bottom. Doesn't matter who you are. If it's someone, anybody. I'll show you a quote here from Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman, one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century. He says, "It doesn't make any difference how beautiful your guess is. It doesn't make how smart you are or who made the guess. If it disagrees with the experiment, you're wrong." So claiming or parroting a claim from a doctor, like Richard did with Brian Ardis, it's a logical fallacy, which is appeal to authority. Just because they got a qualification doesn't mean shit. If the guy's making the claim is referencing one of the studies in the hierarchy, then you ignore what he's saying, you go straight to the reference. So I don't do sharing videos of doctors talking. I look for what he's referencing, and I just turn it off, go to the library of evidence, find the paper, and then check that. And I use the scientific method to cross-reference the paper to see if it matches. So you have all the studies here. Put it back on. So mechanistic studies, case reports. So down here will be like the yellow card system. So you're just reporting outcomes. There's no control. Doesn't mean anything. but it's good. It's a good generation of our hypothesis. So case reports, cohort studies, I'll go all the way up, and up here at the top. So this one is the randomized control trial. This is the scientific method, RCT, because you removed most of the variables as much as possible and controlled for as much as you can. So RCT, that is causal. Anything below that is association. So all these below it, they are good, but you use them to generate a hypothesis of what you think is causing the outcome Y. And then you have to test that association by conducting the RCT. Anyone not get that? I'll explain it in a different way. Straightforward? Okay. So when it comes to a lot of social media, you're just sharing videos and opinions. It doesn't mean anything. What are they referencing, and are they referencing one of them? To cut out all them hours of listening to people, just a total waste of time, because it's just confirming your biased opinion. So with this, this is the distinction. It's how you know versus belief. So most people, belief, remember, is just opinion. It's hypothesis. So speaking hypothesis, when I hear it, I just think, that's just untested. It's untested, it's untested. It's claim, 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 claim. Burdens on you, burdens on you.
Belief is the enemy of knowing.
Belief is the enemy of knowing, that's one of the sayings, yeah. So when you start thinking in terms of knowing, 9.9 times out of 10, my answer is, I don't know. Because as soon as someone asks me opinion on, what do you think about X, Y, Z? I go, I don't know. Because if I have not checked, I don't know. I can give a belief, but I'll make sure I'll say this is my belief. And I'll try and explain based upon. But 9 times out of 10 I'm going to go, I don't know. And that's where I stay. Because you can't get in trouble if you say you don't know. It's easy to say, but it's also difficult to say because it gets at your ego. Okay, everyone understand that? Straightforward? Okay, that's fine then.
Sorry, at that stage though you could have a couple of lobotomized inside.
I can't hear you. Use this.
Huh?
Use this, can't hear you.
At the stage you're at now, I'm just saying that you could have a lobotomized society that don't take any action criteria, so any kind of action is good to erase where's the game, I think.
I don't know.
Can't hear me?
Yeah, speak right into it. Face
yeah.
Kiss it all.
So yeah. So I said at that stage where you're talking there, you could have a lobotomized society whereby nobody believes anything, so therefore they don't take action against the tyranny that's destroying everything around them.
You can believe stuff.
Yeah.
That's allowed. But knowing is a different matter.
Yeah. It's judgment without observation is a dangerous place. So you got to observe before you judge, and you ascertain your belief. Knowing.
But testing the belief is knowing.
Yeah.
The belief is the hypothesis, remember?
Yeah.
It's the first step, or the second step. So it's fine. It's okay to have beliefs. But with the scientific method, is it off? Yeah, leave it there. With the scientific method, It can only work if it's falsifiable. Okay? So where's Richard gone? Has he gone? Alright. So think about it like this. We've got a dead guy in the woods. And naturally, because we know about bullets and guns, it's obvious to come up with your first hypothesis is being shot. But if it was 5000 BC, and then you heard a bang in the woods, what's your opinion now, i.e. hypothesis or belief? So your whole lexicon of understandings in a different context. And this is how beliefs creep into assumed knowledge. But it's not knowledge, it's just dogma. Dogma pervades almost everything in science, especially medical science. So if observing someone in the woods and it's 5000 BC and the prevailing story in your village is there's like a devil unicorn in the woods, stay away from it. Your granddad, your great-granddad has passed this story down. And to question it is like sacrilege, you can't do that. So you or us as awake people are going to go, yeah, but Grandad, has anyone seen this evil unicorn stabbing people in the woods with a great bang? And they go, how dare you question me? And this is how it goes, it's the fear of staying in. So you go, alright, the devil unicorn did it. And it's the same thing with, they shifted it from the devil because it was more religious back then. So that if you cough on someone, the devil got you. Or you got sick, the devil got you. Right? But you have to prove devil exists, because in the fourth step of the experiment, it requires a variable x, independent variable. So before you even conduct the experiment, you have to demonstrate x is a real thing. So we can do that with things we see like bullets and whatever. But if someone claims X is the devil, it's literally fantasy land. Because you need to take the X to do the experiment. And so as devil and heaven and hell waned away, the devil got replaced with germs. So it's the same thing. So, you sneezed on me, there's something in there. But you have to demonstrate there's something in there. You can't just go, it's something. And so when it came down to microscopes, they found bacteria. So, bacteria. And back in the day, they take out bacteria of people's snot, or they just give snot to people. And they did it like 200 times, 200 different experiments, did it for 30 years. Nobody got sick. Because when it was a controlled experiment, the ones that did get sick in the intervention group, the control group also got sick. So, when they conducted, think of bacteria as the bullet. Give them the bullet, the bacteria, do the control, like just saline solution. No difference in result. So therefore, you have to reject the hypothesis and come up with a new one. But instead of rejecting the hypothesis, obviously they exist because we can demonstrate that through microscopes. So instead of going, it's not bacteria, it's something else called viruses. So then they came up with virus. But the problem with the virus, you don't see them with a microscope, you see them with an electron microscope. So a normal microscope for bacteria is just magnification, and that's it. But with virus, electron microscopes, there's a process to it. It's like a recipe. So you take the snot, you stick it on some resin, then you blast it with some chemicals, and you dehydrate it, and then you blast it with an electron beam, and then you get a picture. So just the electron microscope in itself is an experiment which all need to be controlled for. So what if you did all these steps but removed this variable and you still get the same picture? How do you know the resultant thing is in the original snot? And or the resultant thing is just because of this cooking process? So you do a control. You take undiseased snot and you do the same thing. So it's a controlled electron microscope and you get the same picture. Therefore, reject hypothesis. But they didn't reject the hypothesis. This is what they did. So once they found out bacteria do not cause disease, instead of rejecting the hypothesis, they invented, let's say, they invented immune system. So you come up with a story that bacteria cause disease. Once that's rejected through experimentation, instead of rejecting the whole thing, they just went, no, it's true, but it's because they've got an immune system. So now you've created a whole new thing that you can't even see. So you just made up a fantasy story to back up your first story that was false by experiment. It's like me saying, the devil caused it, except when they got an angel on their shoulder. So I go, oh, the devil caused you disease. And I go, oh, how come he didn't get sick then? Well, because he's got an angel on his shoulder. So you just invented another fake thing to back up your first fake thing. It's the same thing. Angel is the immune system. Devil is your bacteria, your virus. Bacteria is a real independent variable. Virus is just as much as a fantasy as devil or angel. Now you can believe in those things, but we're not talking about belief, we're talking about knowledge. So they invent that. But in the case of bacteria, when they found that bacteria, the same bacteria that they found in the diseased snot, they also found in healthy snot. So instead of going, well, it's not the bacteria that caused it. So they just invented another thing called good versus bad bacteria. It's another invention to keep the fantasy story going. So it's just layers and layers and layers and layers of made-up stories, fantasies, upon the first thing that was disproved in the experiment. This is why you've got to check things yourself. Because if you're relying on people that talk in these terms, you're fucked. You're gonna go down a path of assuming that's true what they've said. You've got to check everything. Check everything. Make sense? Easy. Get this mic here. I'll switch it.
You may not or may not find this helpful, I don't know. But in terms of the advances in experiments, the advances in discovery, so you went from microscope to electron microscope, it brought to mind Galileo, who theorised that the Earth revolved around the Sun, whereas at that time the religious belief and the popular belief therefore was that everything revolved around the Earth, and he was sent to prison for it. So what you were saying about the microscope and then the electron microscope feeds into how our advances in science and our advances in experimental ability relates to what we know and what we believe. And another point just to make is comparing science to what we experience. So in the early days of understanding chemtrails, people were saying planes, the trails are not the same, they stay in the air too long. They're not steam anymore, something's happening. I can see it, and I believe there's something different in that. And that was the root of that theorising, was the observation, which is the beginning of the scientific method, observation, yeah? And then you prove it by the scientific method. And then you come to see that actually your experience was true, and you understood by something internal that there was something different happening. And what you brought to mind for me, by what you're saying, is that through scientific advances, we can make arguments against theory. But we also should include that observation is sometimes unexplained until the scientific theory is proven. But that does mean that observation and experience is a valid human aspect.
Yeah, it's part of the method. Exactly, has to be. But, you know, the devil could still cause disease. But because you can't grab the devil and conduct the experiment, you can't falsify the experiment. So you can't do things to do everything to disprove your hypothesis. Remember, you're trying to disprove your opinion. You're essentially challenging your opinion all the time by trying to disprove what your opinion is. And if the end result is it's disproven, or it's proven, it's proven. But with the devil, you can't conduct the experiment, which means it's not falsifiable. So the devil could still cause disease, but it has to remain in hypothesis, scientifically speaking. It has to remain in opinion, which is fine, because that's how we try and find things out. If someone comes up with an experimentational methodology to show devil, it first exists and then do the experiment. Go ahead. Okay. So this is the hierarchy of evidence. So I use this all the time. So how to research. Just go direct yourself. It can be a bit daunting at first, because you're like, oh, it's just like technical shit all the time. So I go to PubMed and PubChem, and my first two websites that I go to. Oh. That picture's from my Telegram channel and Facebook and Twitter. So it's Jav-Ro-Jav. That's my Telegram channel. I only post about once every 2 weeks, because I need to know before I post it. I don't forward anyone's posts. Right. PubMed is just a library of millions and millions of papers, but in the search term, you can select like randomized controlled trial or whatever you want and find stuff out. PubChem is the database for like chemicals and drugs, so you can just type in drug X or whatever. The good thing about PubChem, it will list the PubMed papers, so you got both in one. So yeah, any drug you think of, you know, even like ivermectin or whatever, go to PubChem, go to toxicology, and usually you just find it's just a toxic substance. There's no benefit to it whatsoever. Same with vitamins, synthetic vitamins. They may reduce symptoms, but they increase mortality. So you feel better, but you're going to live less, because the symptom is the removal of the cause. Drink a load of pints, puke. Shit takeaway, diarrhea. Puke, diarrhea are your cures. because they're removing the cause. If you take a drug, if you concentrate on symptoms to stop them, you're essentially plugging the cause in your body, so you feel better. But because it's the poison or the shit's contained, now you're going to live less of a life in the long run. So have your symptoms. Don't concentrate on symptom removal, concentrate on causation removal. Because it's if X, then Y. What's the X? I keep thinking, what's the X? What's the X? Most people, because we're trained through doctors, and symptoms aren't nice, is how do I remove the Y? How do I remove the Y? You know? Look at the X, which basically means look at your life, change your life, which means responsibility. That's why most people don't do it, because they just want, I don't want to change my life, just give me something to not feel this. And the cycle repeats, and therefore overall you live less. But you'll feel better in a short term. But have your symptoms, because you might have your symptoms for an extra week. So what? Extra week. It's all flushed out, done. Okay. Who's heard of Professor Carl Hennigan? Yeah, and Tom Jefferson. So, these guys, they're the heads of Oxford University's Centre of Evidence-Based Medicine. And they do some good stuff. Anyway, it's like I subscribe to their Substack. But they wrote this paper in 2022, and it was about evidence of finding causation of viruses. So, it's hard to see, but they've used a pyramid, just like the evidence hierarchy pyramid. But, you know, they put quotes in there that say, lack of high quality evidence, pressing need, causality in the transmission of respiratory viruses needed. This is 2022. There's no evidence. Clinical presentations cannot distinguish those viral infections that present with similar clinical features. Any practicing clinician knows it's impossible to distinguish. So you go to the doctor and you've got a rash, you know, and your doctor goes, that's measles. But you know that because measles is just another word for rash. So you observe a rash, and the doctor goes, it's a rash. I go, well, I fucking knew that, why did I come to you? I'll do a blood test that is a fake blood test. But then, if they're doing a blood test, they've got to do a controlled blood test. So why don't you do 200 other blood tests for the other supposed rashes that are not measles? They don't do that, do they? So yeah, you go to a doctor because you don't feel well. But really, if you don't feel well, just look at your life and remove the causes. If you feel well, don't go. So either way, you don't go. It says here, continues, we still do not have the fundamental questions answered regarding modes of transmission. Don't know, because they have been done, but they have not referenced them. So, assigning causation relies on a consistent body of evidence. So what they've done is this. It's difficult to see, yeah? But anyway, they've got the pyramid. So they're saying low-rung evidence of viral causation, finding viruses causing it. But all these in the pyramid are all I read this about 5 times thinking this is unbelievable. Every single one of those steps to finding higher evidence of causation. Remember, if X then Y. So you've got to demonstrate virus exists before you do any experiment. That's not been done. And then Y is the result, which is the dependent variable, right? Or variables. Every single one of those steps in that hierarchy is a dependent variable, is an outcome. So they're saying, outcome, therefore, X exists. They're going, sick patient exists, therefore viruses exist. Or they're going, nucleic acid amplification PCR testing exists, giving a result, therefore that thing means X exists. But I could just replace all that and go, the devil exists. I can go, serial viral cultures decreasing the cycle threshold with isolated identification. If I notice that result, I can go, the devil did it. Every one of them is an outcome. But they've reversed it. They're using Y first. They're using Y, then X. Consequent reversal fallacy. Every one of those steps is a consequent reversal fallacy. It's total bullshit. Right, let's get to this. Geezer. Where is it? Geezer!
He's outside.
Can you go shout it? Geezer. Just say geezer. Red cap.
This Geezer, man.
Is it? I'm going to finish on this now. I like to be concise, so Geezer! There he is, right. This is the bit you'll listen to. Okay. So, it's all about if X then Y. Got to think in that order. So on the 18th of March, I was going to show this to Andrew Bridgen, but he's not here. And I tried to show him at the Reading Centre, but he kind of walked off. I thought, am I walking off? No. So, 18th of March 2020, this is before lockdown. Government put out a press release. Benzodiazepines and opioids, reminder of risk of potential fatal respiratory depression, right? It's a claim, they've still got to prove that, but that's their claim. Doesn't mean it's true. So that's 18th of March. Lockdown happened about 5 days later. On the 3rd of April, the NICE guidelines came out for the NHS staff for COVID. Right? NICE guidelines 163. It states for dosage usage for COVID patients. Right? So opioids is 30 milligrams a day, and midazolam, a benzodiazepine, midazolam is 60 milligrams a day. Okay? It does say at the bottom, this does not have a marketing authorization. So they didn't even approve it through their own system. And it said, sedation and opioid use should not be withheld. The very reversal of what the government said. So it says it should not be withheld because of a fear of causing respiratory depression, which is the opposite of what the government said, which was reminder of risk of fatal respiratory depression. So it's totally inverted. So that's the NICE guidelines. And then the BMJ, the British Medical Journal, published their analysis of prescriptions for that April, mainly, for the whole year but April. And the language is, a dramatic spike in end-of-life care drugs. Opioids, benzodiazepines. Prescribing of these drugs was associated, remember, associated, with end-of-life care reaching the highest recorded point during 2020. Here's the key. Coincided with UK peak number of deaths in April. There was 100% excess deaths in April. There was basically a 100% increase in those drugs in April as well. Now, correlation. Remember, it's correlation, it's not causation. So this is a good hypothesis generation to test. But the correlation for midazolam was 0.93. That's unheard. Number one is the maximum you can have. It's basically like 100%. When they do statistical significance for correlation, they'll use like 0.4, 0.5, which, they'll go highly significant. But the midazolam was 0.93. I've never seen that high figure. But in my head, I'm thinking, it's association. Even though 0.93 will get you through court as a causal statistical factor. So I'm racking my brains going, how do we know 60 milligrams causes death? Where's that study? And I was asking Bridget a month ago, I'm trying to show him this paper, it's not computing in his head. So if you're going to get Matt Hancock in court, you can't just show nice guideline at 60 milligrams to go there, cause death. No, that's not proof or anything. It's proof of association when you factor in the graph for deaths from the British Medical Journal. So, it took me ages to find this, but here we go. So this is a study from 2019, summer 2019, way before COVID, way before. They gave midazolam sedation to patients. They gave the dose average. And the dose average, 61.2 milligrams a day. Very similar to the 62.5 max for the COVID NICE guideline. Because the COVID NICE guideline was 60 plus 2.5 or an extra 5, just in case. And then the result of this, for the patients that received them drugs, sedation was continuous until death for 98%. And the overall survival was 1 day, as a median. By day 5, only 5% were alive. This is 60 milligrams a day. Plus opioids at the bottom. 87% took opioids. So there's no RCT, you can't find it. This is the closest you're going to get, so it's up there on the pyramid of evidence. It's not an RCT, but it's close. So, Geezer, where are you? That's the paper you need.
Let's get Hancock in prison.
Yeah, you need to give that to
Let's
Bridget.
get Hancock in prison.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the key paper. There's probably another one, but I'll keep digging.
Well done, mate.
So yeah, that whole thing, that is, if X, then Y. All of it. If midazolam, at 60 milligrams, outcome death. That's it. Midazolam's a known variable, you can touch it, you can grab it and give it. That's better evidence than a virus that you can't grab and go. They didn't even do the snot, take snot, give it to people. Those experiments are being done, giving sick disease snot to healthy people. It's been done thousands of times. No one gets sick. Contagion is a total myth. You can't catch disease. You can't catch health. That's all it is. Simple. It's poison in, symptoms out. Poison in, symptoms out. Symptoms are your friend, basically, to change your life. It's a big message. All right, that's it. Any questions?
Yes, well, not just that Hancock, but all of the health professionals who push the vaccine program against humanity should be held to account.
Yes.
You cannot go and say, I was only doing my job. World War II, Nuremberg Code applies.
So, with the GMC, so NHS staff will follow the hospital protocols, which are usually based on nice protocols, nice guidelines. But in a legal way, on the GMC license side, they're accountable to themselves, conducting their own action. So they can't use the nice guideline or the hospital protocol as defence. Because when it comes to license, as a clinician, you're individually responsible. Because it's patient-led, not protocol-led. That's what it is in the legal fashion. You got to assess the patient on an individual case basis. Yeah. But you know, if you're, that's why there's no one size fits all. For example, you're going to watch these legs before they fall off. Just keep an eye out. So, you know, there's us. Incoming poison is usually 3. So it's chemical, physical, or emotional. Mainly chemical. And then you have a symptom out. So let's say it's chemical, right? Chemical goes in. Now your body's got to deal with that poison. So your bacteria come along. Bacteria and all those like parasites. Parasites also, no paper showing parasites cause disease. Total bullshit. Same with fungi, or you know. So they're your garbage men. Think of all those characters as garbage men. Bacteria, parasites, and fungi. They grab the poison. Or if the poison's damaged tissue, they'll grab the damaged tissue. They'll grab it and spit it out. So it'll be rash, poo, sweat, fever, snot. Every which way they can get it out, they want to get it out. That's your symptom. We've been told the symptom is a disease. It's not, it's just discomfort. That's all it is. The same with your car. If your car's spluttering, because it's, you know, you've not treated it well, you put shit fuel in or whatever, it goes to the mechanic, it rests, the mechanic takes out all the old bits, that's your bacteria, and then it puts in new bits, that's the rejuvenation. All that while the car is sitting on that mechanic's bed, not on the road. It's the same with us. We're sick because we consume some poison, or we just live in a poison world because of all the building materials, paint, off-gassing, fire retardants, everything is off-gassing now, breathing it all the time. You can't get away from it, tough shit. So, we get sick, we go on our sick bed, and we're off the road. Have your symptoms, wait, relax, watch some comedy, do a lot of sleeping, have a fast. Wait, rejuvenate, and you feel good. One day you're out of bed, and you're back on the road. So that's the system we need to operate. But because the system requires us to work, you know, back in the Greek days, only the elite got the required rest period, and it could be however long they wanted. The workers got drugs to stop symptoms i.e. butt plug everything, to feel better so they can get back to work. So slaves get symptom reducers to feel better, to get back to work. The elite, they rest however long they want. Don't take any drugs. So that's that. Any questions?
I've got one.
Go on, where's that microphone gone? There's one, there's another one there. I'll give you this one. I've got it. You hold that.
Alright. One of the things that's really interested me, I mean, I take on board what you said about COVID, and yeah, I'll swallow it whole. I think you're absolutely right. One of the things that's really interested me is that the relationship between statins and dementia. Now, are there any papers that are actually demonstrating that there is a relationship between the two?
There will be high-end papers, yeah. I'm not sure about RCT, I'm not checked, so I don't know. But in terms of surgery, this happened with my dad. So, am I right carrying on? So my dad, he loves his shit food. Like mainly bread-based, pastries, cereals, you know, sweet crap. He loves it. Basically just processed carbs. UPS, ultra-processed foods, right? So, shut up. I've got it here. 1 second. This is a good example. In the 1970s, surgery for PCI, which basically just means percutaneous coronary intervention, so like stents, that's an umbrella term for various surgeries. PCI was essentially conducted in the 1970s. So what they did, so patients start getting surgery for stents or whatever, and then they go, after it all healed up, and they'll go, and then they do the assessment of the patient. So, and they go, how do you feel? They go, oh yeah, I feel better, my chest pain's gone. So therefore, the conclusion is, from their point of view, PCI surgery works. And therefore, for the next 40, 50 years, it carried on. It became a big business. But remember, in order to find out the truth clinically, you've got to conduct the randomized controlled trial. You've got to conduct the RCT. Because just giving the PCI to a big cohort of people over a few decades, where's the control group? There's no control group. So, but the person observing the outcome is inferring the surgery did a good job. So by 2017, RCT was conducted. First time they decided to check if PCI stenting and whatever does do that benefit. So they did a control group. So you got your PCI group, and then you got your control group. These guys, it's blinded, by the way, the best way to do it. No one knows which ones they're going to get. Blinded, control, PCI. All that happens is they cut them open, stitch them up. That's it. Cut them open, stitch them up. And then they do the same assessment. So the GP, the doctor, was also blinded, so it's double blind. Patients don't know, and the GP doesn't know, because the GP does the assessment. So she does the assessment 2 months later. How's your chest pain? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, very good, thanks. The same survey that they used for the last 40 years. But the outcome in both groups is the same. Which means the PCI is doing fuck all, except making a lot of money. Because you're talking, 40 grand per procedure, or whatever it is. I don't know, maybe 20 grand. Depends on which country you're in. The outcome's the same. They did a non-blinded control before that for mortality. Mortality outcome was also the same. So this one just came down to chest pain and mobility. Same outcome. Surgery doesn't do anything. Out of about 6,000 different types of surgery, how many randomized RCTs have been conducted? Make a guess. Yeah, 93. So there's about 6,000 different types of surgeries, all different kinds, your knee, chest, whatever. There's only 93 RCTs. Of those that are conducted properly with proper controlled variables, 12. Sorry guys, just short for the back. So yeah, 12. And out of those 12, which one showed a benefit? What number? 2? What are you saying? 0. Anyway, my dad was going to go and get the surgery, right? So I'm digging away at PubMed, PubChem and Google Scholar. Gosh, there must be an RCT. You can't be doing this for 40 years and not actually knowing if it works. Find it. Thought, boom, yes. Send that to him. Send it to my doctor relatives, they're all doctors. Fucking hate me. Nothing, silence. Nothing. Absolute 0. Just blank wall, nothing. Like, do what the doctor said. Even the doctors go and do what the doctor said. And they're the specialists, so my sister's a consultant dermatologist. But the oncologist and the cardiologist, they're specialists, they know. I know, you're making a claim. I'm an annoying bastard, because I'll go, you made a claim. Right, proof of claim please. And she can't. And any claim comes out of someone's mouth, I'm on it. Proof of claim. Do not make a claim unless you can't back it up. Stay in I don't know. Stay there unless you actually do know. The world of pain or the world of arguments go out the window. You don't have them. But you'll get brick wall response. You're basically revealing their lack of burden of proof. That's what's happening. And it's like, because really they're just going, I've just been told that, I've just been told it. So that's it. Yeah, Emperor's got no clothes, this gentleman saying. Same thing. Pointing it out all the time. But it makes you humble. Microphone.